So it's kind of hard to define an eating disorder. Essentially, it's just an unhealthy relationship with food and kind of using it in an unhealthy way. I think one thing I want to say right away is I think people's common misconception with it is it's solely about the food, when it's not. I was bulimic for 7 years, and I wasn't bulimic because I was just hungry and would eat till I was sick. No, it was tied to emotional, and it was actually how I cope with my emotion. I felt completely like no control, but I was like, okay, this is one thing I can control. There was almost like a power of like I could eat this and get rid of it in a sense, which it's hard to talk about, but it started the middle of high school. I was sent to live with my grandparents in Maine, the middle of my high school, like 4 years. And it was just terrible. They lived in like a 500 population town. It was the middle of my junior year. Yeah. So it was very hard for me to like cope with that. So I ultimately turned to this way of coping. I was very like alone and depressed, which you wouldn't know. It wasn't obvious. Mm-hmm. I was very good at hiding it. I was like very social. Beneath that, I was doing this to kind of cope with my depression. My gymnastics coach was actually the one that called it out, because her daughter went through the same thing. It's really common with eating disorders, like the denial of it, and if anyone were to accuse you, you're like, screw you.
Do you think that you getting involved in physique sports enhanced or possibly worsened your perception of food? Because that's something I feel like we see a lot, and I think that could really appeal to people.
I got started in competing for the wrong reason. I've learned, like now, obviously, I'm in a good place. I used competing as a way to like control my eating disorder. So when I was on prep, I felt I could hide from it because I was strictly following this meal plan. It was like an excuse I could use, hey, you can't binge and purge because you got this meal plan. But when I was on off season, I went off the rails. Like it was every day I was engaging in these behaviors, and it was misery because you start to affect your overall health. Like my digestion didn't work. I was losing my hair, my teeth were bleeding, like it was bad. And when I think back on it now, I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I did that. It was just like a dark pit. Like I said, I struggled with anxiety and depression most of my life, and this is how I coped, because I didn't speak about my feelings. So it was a very like, the eating disorder was very on and off in the sense of when I was competing, when it wasn't. And essentially when I got my pro card, when I was prepping for my pro card, like for nationals, I was on like 900 calories a day, no carbs, no fat, 2 hours of cardio a day. So that was almost like another end of an eating disorder. I essentially messed up my insides so bad that I attempted all these preps up until recently that I couldn't.
Do you see this as common in bodybuilding?
Extremely.
And in like physique and fit and bikini? Like, have you seen it firsthand, other people that have displayed it or been talking to you about it, like open? Anybody that's willing to talk to you?
Well, I'm always willing to talk about it, but that's why I'm so excited about this, is like I'm ready myself to be vulnerable at the benefit of people will talk about it, because I think it is huge in our industry, and it's not talked about, because I think a lot of the behaviors are justified in the industry. Like you need like the normal of, I know you need to suffer to a point. Uneducated coaches on a certain level, they will push behaviors that can result into an eating disorder. I just literally am so excited to talk about, because I don't care. Like this is real, it is real life, and it's not just in the fitness industry, it's in men and women, it's in all ages, especially in the fitness industry. I think it's so taboo to talk about it, and people, I almost think maybe they're afraid of the backlash of it, because competing, like if done right, it's amazing. Like there's pro level athletes, like they do well, and if you do it correctly, I totally am for it. And yes, some aspects of it are unhealthy, right? But it's a short amount of time, and it takes a mentally strong person to like separate the two. Yeah. And I think when I came into the sport, I was not mentally okay. That's essentially what led to the downfall of me having to step back for so long. But if you come into the sport in a good mental place, and you know it is what it is, and you know this is going to happen, this is why we're doing this with your diet. Like if you can separate the two and then go into your off season and still maintain that good relationship, you will be successful. Yeah. But it is hard. You have to be mentally prepared for that struggle of switching between the diet of competing and not competing, or being okay with the body changes, because your body changes too. are what could definitely trigger behaviors.
Yeah. If you're a loved one of somebody who might suspect their partner or whoever else might be dealing with these issues, like what are some signs that might be hidden or that you might suggest look out for?
Well, I can really only speak on the bulimia portion. I only know some from treatment, but like personally, if I were speaking from things I would do that you'd want to look out for, typically people are bulimic, they're gonna eat like large amounts of food, or what I know I would do is I would eat whole packages of things and then you immediately go to the bathroom. Like it's a pattern, and like the second you eat it and you're in the bathroom, or locking the door, which I guess some people do when you're in the bathroom, but if you're at your house living with someone and you're locking the door. I know I had a lot of like indigestion problems. I know it's hard because when you have an eating disorder, you're usually really secretive, because I know I would try so hard for it to be secretive. Like I didn't want anyone to know, but I think the biggest cue would be eating large amounts till you're sick, right? Or eating so much food and then rushing to the bathroom, if that's consistently happening. Because, I mean, some instances you do have to go to the bathroom, right? But if you're doing that after every meal.
Mm-hmm. What was the straw that led you to realize, like, hey, I need to get help for this? Or, like, this is something that really needs to be dealt with?
The eating disorder, like I said, it's not just food. Like, it actually messes with you mentally. So it actually amplified like my anxiety and my depression, and it made me like really angry because it was kind of just destroying my relationship. It was messing with work even. So it was it was interfering with my everyday life. And I think what was really scary is I got to the point where I was trying to figure out a way to live with this the rest of my life. I was like, how can I make this work? In treatment, we described it, it's like a tumor. Like it feeds off you and it lives on you, and you kind of just are like, oh, it's there. Like you get, like, you accept it. I think you get like sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I was so done, and you just feel like shit.
Yeah.
Like you're bloated. Like anytime you go out to eat, there's this anxiety of like, okay, I know I have to find a bathroom because I have to get rid of this the second I eat it. Like I had that constant anxiety. Like I wasn't comfortable going out to eat with groups of people because I knew what I have to do, or I'd always want to eat in private because I didn't want people to see how much I was eating, knowing what I was going to go do. So I just got so fed up, and I was just like, I can't live this way. Like I literally, it's destroying everything around me. And I was in therapy at the time too. And my therapist straight up told me, she's like, I literally can't help you with that until we get over this eating disorder, because this is how you're coping with it. Mm-hmm. And I can't get through to that. So she literally was like, we can't go any further until you get help. Mm-hmm. And that was so much more important to me than my eating disorder. It took a few tries because I would call this place and then I would back out. And then I would call this place and then I wouldn't respond, because it is hard to enroll yourself in a treatment for that.
I get it.
So, and then essentially I started, and I like cried a lot because it was really scary, because it's like I said, it's a tumor. You're like cutting that part out of you, and it's kind of scary to get rid of because it becomes part of your identity. Mm-hmm. And that's what I felt. I felt like an eating disorder was part of who I was. I signed up for that in August, and my family was so supportive. I think that's a huge thing too if you are struggling. So who's ever watching this, if they personally are, if you think you know someone, talking to someone is major, as hard as it may be, because like I said, it isolates you. Like I felt so alone. I felt like no one could understand. No one, they think I'm gross, like they don't understand this, and they couldn't. So and I felt so alone, and that's when it's dangerous. It's not common, but it's more common than you would think. Mm-hmm. And people hide it so well, and you are not alone. Like I can't stress that enough. You are so not alone in it, like at all. And I know it really feels like it, but there are so many resources, and I just talk to someone. Like I don't care if you talk to me. Mm-hmm. Like I don't care. Like speak to someone, because I don't think people realize that are struggling with it, the release you feel just from talking about it. Like I know the second I was able to sit down with someone who knew about it and to be like, hey, this is what I'm going through, and them to be like, okay. It was almost like there's hope, because I think it's so easy to be in this like black hole and think there's literally no way out.
Right.
And that's when other things come in, like, like suicidal. Like I was suicidal for a long time, like especially after my dad died. That's gonna be 2 years ago. I legit was just like, I don't care. And that's because I was alone and isolated. And that's like that's the main thing I can say is like, if you know someone, you are not alone. Like that's the biggest, like I know I just talked about that, but you are so not alone in this. And there's people in your life that just want to support you in this, and they want you to get better, and I want you to know that you can get better. You do not have to live your life like this. You do not have to stay in this, and there is hope. There are resources to get out of it, and I think that is so huge. Suffering in silence, or someone you may know that's suffering, or people that just want to know more about it. Like, there's a way out, and I think in addiction, and I think in any sort of addiction, there's a lot of like hopelessness. Like, there's no way for me to get out of this. Like, I'm stuck with this forever. Like, that's not the case. And I know that's hard to think in the moment, but I'm telling you from being on the other end of it, like, I think I was at the lowest of low I could have been. And now I'm like on the opposite. Like, I still got shit going on. but like on that spectrum, like, I'm telling you from experience, like, the other end of it is unreal. Like, you wouldn't believe the life you can live without the eating disorder. Like, I never thought I would be here. I never thought that I would actually be able to fight it.
Right.
And all it took was for someone to be like, you can do this, Jessica, or someone to know and be like, here is how we're going to get this out, or here is a resource, here is a treatment center, here is a book, here is like anything. And it's just like the power of just support. And I think I've learned that in any addiction. Like I said, my dad was an addict. Like, yeah, so I'm now taking on personal training clients at Elite Total Fitness in Simpsonville. It's a brand new gym. It's all private, which is great because you don't have to worry about a public gym and me trying to train you one-on-one. It's all appointment, so you're by yourself with me in there. And just from what you've heard, I'm not just focusing on like your physical. Like, I want you to mentally be healthy too. Like, I want this to be overall a fitness and health journey for you, not just for you to get in the physical shape, but like mentally, I want you strong too. And I am no professional by any means in the sense of like therapy or dietitian or anything of that, but I'm speaking to you solely from experience, and that I've been on both ends of the spectrum, and it's just a possibility to like live your life without it. And I'm so happy.
Good. We'll conclude it there.